Engraving the Passion. So my mission over the past couple of months has been to dust off these beautiful engravings by Alois and get them hung up on the walls after nearly 10 years of hibernation. So these 14 engravings that you see hung up on the south wall, they are reproductions of Joseph von Furik's vibrant paintings of the Stations of the Cross. They depict the Passion of Christ, which is the story of Christ's arrest, trial and suffering. The Passion begins with the events that unfold in the gardens of Gethsemane, his condemnation by Pontius Pilate, and go on to depict the agony that Christ endures on his death on Calvary. Now this story was first comprehensively painted in the 14th century by Giotto's frescoes in the Arena Chapel in Padua. This was a time when extravagant and elaborate paintings such as these became extremely popular because they served as a visual narrative for those who could not read. Joseph von Furik painted the Stations of the Cross from the summer of 1844 to 1846. He enlisted his student, Adam Vogler, and together they painted the 14 panels in the Nepomuc Church in Vienna. So as you peruse the engravings this evening, I'd like you to take a moment to reflect upon their original purpose. They were once designed for the faithful to travel from station to station, praying, reflecting, and meditating on the Passion of Christ. This contemplation pays homage to the practice of Christian pilgrims who visit Jerusalem and walk the traditional route from Gabata to Calvary. Usually is the case that this prayerful meditation takes place during Lent and especially on Fridays in commemoration of Christ's crucifixion on Good Friday. Now Joseph von Furik was born in Bohemia in Austria, and he was born to a country painter and master tailor Wenzel Furik. Joseph was taught art from a young age and blossomed into a brilliant painter of religious themes while studying at the Academy of Prague. In 1826, the Prince of Metternich was so impressed with Joseph's drawings that he was invited to study in Rome. Now Joseph von Furik's career went from strength to strength, and he began to draw great inspiration from German Renaissance painter Dürer, and he sought to instill new shape and spirit to biblical subjects. Now, Furik's compositions were extremely skillful, as you'll see on the walls just here, having mastered distribution, form, movement and expression. Now, throughout his life, Joseph von Furik was awarded a number of accolades that propelled his career as a celebrated artist. So in the year 1834, Furik was made a superior of the Franciscan religious order, and in 1841 he was granted Professor of Composition at the Academy of Vienna. By far his greatest achievement was in 1872 when he was awarded Knight of the Order of Franz Joseph for his brilliant contribution to art. Now Furik was described as a Nazarene, so dedicated to the portrayal of religious themes he received a loving nickname, the theologian with the pen. As I researched the exhibition, I stumbled upon a brilliant academic essay written by Isabelle Saint-Martin. She's a professor of art history at a university in Paris. Now her essay is centred upon the Nazarenes, which were a group of young, romantic German artists who proposed to challenge academic art. Now Joseph von Furik is a fantastic example of a Nazarene. They believed art should serve a moral and religious purpose, and they sought great inspiration from the artists of the late Middle Ages. So the Nazarenes, they aimed to reject neoclassicism and return to the purity of the early Renaissance. The painters led an ideal Catholic monastic lifestyle in an artistic fraternity. They were named the Nazarenes for their long flowing hair and their monk-like appearances, and their art recreated religious scenes and biblical imagery to teach history, ethics and philosophy, but most importantly, revive spirituality. Now this is exactly how the engravings we so luckily have today came to exist. Because during the 19th century, engravings such as these were very popular indeed, because it meant reproductions of great artwork could circulate amongst the masses and good moral values could be instilled. In earlier times, simple illustrations would usually suffice, but engravings became an increasingly popular medium as they resembled such a true likeness to the original. Now in 1856, Alois engraved Joseph von Furik's Stations of the Cross, which was then published in Ravensburg and became a staple of several parish churches. Now these particular engravings that you'll see here today, they've been a part of Blair's for 150 years, and they were first hung in the chapel of the Old College, then used in the oratory of St. Peter's and Paul's, and they were then used in the cloister and exhibition space, and now here today. So the primary focus of this new exhibition is to illuminate the history of these engravings and their placement within Catholicism's objective to make the spirit of pilgrimage accessible to all. By hanging engravings in churches, chapels and hospitals, the dramatisation of Christ's final journey offers an opportunity to emulate pilgrimage through Jerusalem. Now, whilst I was writing the interpretation under each of the engravings, I really took my time to study and digest each of the depictions. Now, many of them have hidden features, whether in the dress of the Roman soldiers, the expression carved into the eyes, or simply the flowers that spring from the foreground. I particularly value the symbolism within each of the engravings, and I encourage you too to find a particular obscure feature that lends itself to the entire composition of the engraving. I hope you enjoyed contemplating the exhibition this evening, and thank you for listening to my brand new introduction of Engraving the Passion.